Hello and welcome. It's Susanne Moore here again from the Project Manager Clinic, and we are challenging some of the norms of project management today and talking to Margaret de Santos, who most of you will know from the Project Manager Clinic YouTube channels. And we're talking about gamification in project management and how that might work. And we've just been joined by Andrea Bright as well. So we're going to kick off. Margaret, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Suzanne, and very happy to be part of this conversation.
It's an exciting one, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
the more that you look at it, the more there is in it. And we have got the presentation up, but like I said, it won't be up the whole time. Andrea, how are you?
Really well, thanks, Suzanne.
Excellent. You're a project manager too?
Yes.
Yes. And you were just saying about hearing about gamification, and this is, something that you thought, I need to learn about that. It is interesting. Like I was saying, the more you look at it, the more interesting it becomes.
And engaging, I'm sure.
And engaging, exactly. So I'll just read this out and then we'll get stuck in. There's actually quite a bit in this. Unlocking engagement, the gamified project revolution. So traditional project management, struggles a little bit with team buy-in and quite frankly, after 30 odd years in it, it can be a little bit boring. It can be really exciting for the wrong reasons, but it can also be quite boring. So we're going to talk about some current methods that fall short and how gamification might be something that can spice up our project management or our project. So let's get ready for this little shift in your head and your project management and see how we go. So let's get going. So the future is gamified, right? The future is AI and the future is gamified. So there's a lot of stuff that is now changing the project management um, environment and our careers and how we look at being a project manager. And Margaret, we were just talking a little bit about this before we just started this, that it's getting increasingly difficult to be a project manager or to get a job in today's workplace. So maybe this is another skill that people need. What do you think, gamification?
I think so as well. I think it brings people together and it brings your left and right brain as well. It activates both,
Yeah,
so it's not just one-sided. And it makes people feel more comfortable. They, open up because they are a bit more relaxed. It's not so, I guess, hardcore kind of structured. It's a bit more like relaxed and allows people to, I think, be themselves,
be
think
themselves.
creatively.
Yeah. And look, we've got different demographics in the workforce, of
Mm.
course, as we have always had, but things have changed substantially across the board. And people like me who are, now just retired, probably the first people who have gone almost their entire career in information technology or information technology being a thing, right? So way back like in the late early 90s, it wasn't really a thing. So we're going to talk about gamified work environments and how that might shape the future of project management, like I said. Do we have to adapt positions? And Margaret, we've talked about this before. What's the new leader look like? So what does the new project management leader look like? And do we need to really start experimenting with this? And what does gamification actually mean to you and your career? So, Margaret, I don't know if you want to talk through this one, but this is about the psychological triggers um, that are about gamification and how it taps into our own psyche.
Yeah, like I said, it's a creative side and it allows people to open up, be themselves, be less rigid, and potentially, I think of gamification not just, online and tapping your fingers on keyboards, But it's actually really good to actually physically do team games and where you actually include people, because then you're using all of your senses, your kinesthetic, your hearing, and you're obviously not tasting anything, hopefully. But you're using as many, different senses as possible.
Yeah.
And not just your, fingers typing on a keyboard. I think that it also, where people are a bit apprehensive about meeting new people, it breaks down that barrier in terms of allowing you to open up and kind of talk to people a bit more. So, and there's other tactics, not just gamification, that allow project managers to be able to do that really well. And we're going to talk about that as well.
We will. So, Andrea, can I ask you, have you had any experience or been exposed to gamification in project management or in the workplace? Oh, you're on mute. Why are you on mute? Hold on. We can't hear you.
And I put it.
Oh, there you
Sorry,
are.
as soon as I put it back down, it should have gone back on, but obviously Teams doesn't do that. Sorry, yeah, at Ramsay Health, certainly some of the project managers were using it. And the other thing I noticed about it was that it was quite good at removing the hierarchical and removing just you as the leader of the event, having to constantly ask people questions. Essentially, the whole team became involved and engaged because they were all part of a team. And it certainly activates the competitive side of people as well. So they want to take over. And that can be quite good because they're bringing out ideas. It's not just the project manager asking a question, getting an answer, asking another question, getting an answer. It tends to be dynamic. And when we're playing games with Mirror and other tools like that.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm so glad that you're able to join us, because that's some information that I don't have. I don't have much information about gamification. We've had to research this to do this presentation. So your input will be really invaluable in this. I'm just going to talk about this study by the University of Georgia, and that revealed that employees who participate in gaming, and specifically in training programs, see an impressive 48% increase in engagement levels. And this is sort of a little bit what you were talking about, Andrea. So, and it's largely attributed to core psychological principles of competitiveness, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So, employees feel like they've got a little bit more control over what's going on, and obviously helps to build the team. I think it's really important, though, before we go too far, to understand the difference between gaming the system and gamification, which can be a little bit, well, they are completely different things, really, but they can be mixed up, and particularly when you're talking to one of your executives with an idea, let's do some gamification. No, we're not just playing games. So gaming the system and gamification, not the same. An online multiplayer console games, and Andrea, you sort of talked a little bit about this, like Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Minecraft, ones that most of us know about. They really motivate people to tackle challenges, both personally and professionally, or as a project team, and displaying them in leaderboards, their achievements. Margaret, you and I talked a little bit about this before. I wasn't real keen to start with about the, awarding people badges and things like that. Did you do any more research on this, and how are you feeling about it now as we're talking?
So the thing is, I think if you reward people personally, people start to be competitive, but they go against their basically their colleagues, because what they're doing is they're trying to win the badges for themselves, and rather than being, a collective group or a collective team. So maybe like giving and getting badges as a team or a collective is
Yeah.
probably a more healthier, competitive way of gamification. I think,
Mm.
I think that, when people start to be competitive, I think they will tend to be more keeping the information to themselves so that they
Yeah.
can basically win the badge or, get ahead on the leaderboard, for example. So I think that that's just what I think in terms of,
Yeah.
competitive edginess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I sort of agree because
Yeah.
there's so often I've been in the workplace and people are sitting there with their headsets on and they're talking in a meeting to the person that's literally sitting opposite them. So I'm not sure whether this sort of stuff, as you're saying, could induce maybe more of an insular environment where everybody's more individual rather than that team thing. So I guess it's a really tricky thing to pick the right vehicle for your gamification strategy. I'm guessing it's a strategy. Um, we know that gamification can increase engagement, which we talked about, rewards friendly competition, which is what you're talking about, Margaret, and social relatedness, which is interesting because that takes people away from that insular thing if you're doing it in the right way. So it's hard to do it in the right way, though. Andrea, have you got a comment on this? Have you experienced it in terms of leaderboards and things?
So I don't know if you're familiar with the tool Mirror, but
Yeah,
it's basically like sticky notes.
yeah,
And when you're doing gamification with it, you're essentially competing for who's going to come up with the best ideas. And then you might say, well, which ones does everybody agree with? And so therefore there's a bit of an incentive for you to come up with great ideas and for yours to be the ones that are voted for, yours are the ones that are selected. So there's still a competition, but you're working as a team
yeah,
still. So that's how it, you still feel as though, oh, I won because somebody chose my idea, but
yeah.
it's not, but everybody gets to win.
These are sort of fundamental concepts in a way, that we're working as a team and then we're celebrating the wins, both the individual wins and the other, and creating that environment of safety for people so that they can do the sticky notes. Even if it's not in an application, we've been doing sticky notes and things like that for quite some time. And I know, Margaret, you're going to talk a little bit about this a bit later. But the use of storytelling as well. We did the webinar on storytelling just recently. That leverages psychological idea of immersion. So people get immersed in the story and allows people to engage on a personal level because they're connecting to the story. So there's quite a few things now in project management where we're really starting to push those disruptive ideas. These are things that stayed old, tired old project management things we never thought of before. You know, so it's quite different. Um, we're going to talk a little bit now about the playbook for how we're going to implement gamification in projects because we all know that we've got plenty of tools in project management land, but where does the gamification one go? I'm going to ask you, Margaret, is it another tool set? Is it an activity? What's your thinking on it?
I think in terms of, we did speak a little bit about ways of introducing gamification within the teams.
Yeah,
I think another way would be that we could do kickoff sessions with the actual project teams where I know, for example, in some organisations where everyone was dispersed across the
yeah,
globe, it isn't an expensive way to meet, but we would co-locate in a particular area or country or city, and we would basically workshop things together. And I think that that's another way where you're actually working collaboratively to come up with ideas, and basically setting the strategy for the next few months rather than competing between each other where, you're basically not having a civil war, but you're kind of, being divisive within the team, and just so that's another way where you can actually bring people together and get the collective ideas, collective strategies and thoughts, risks, issues, and things like that to be, decided upon, worked upon. And, sometimes you can bring actual collective team, not games, but more like, I think things like, I don't know, 10-pin bowling or something like that, where you're doing something as a team, but you're actually using a lot of your senses. You're, basically playing physically, to be able to get to know your team members a bit more and, get to know how creative they are, what they're like personally, physically, and, kind of have that as a way, basically as a method to be able to work well with that team member within the actual project. I would say that would be another way as well. And I was just thinking as Andrea was talking, I think if you're just using badges or things to add to people's games, some people might want to be guarded about, like, for example, if you say, okay, the person that brings in the most issues and helps resolve them gets the most badges, people might be guarded about actually coming forward with issues because they'll say, well, this is the issue and this is how it's going to be solved. So that they're going to want to be able to bring it up and then solve it on the spot so that they can get a badge, for example. So rather than highlighting it early and, basically communicating it early so that the team can help, I guess, decide on how it can be solved rather than keeping it to yourself and because you want to get a badge and you want to be able to solve it.
Yeah, good
Those
point.
are the risks and issues of managing risks and issues with games.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. That's very interesting though, because I hadn't sort of thought about that part of it. But it seems we can't absolve our responsibility as a project manager, as a leader. But and you touched on this, Margaret, we need to still get to know who our team members are, what motivates them, and even without gamification, this is really important for a project manager. This is something certainly I've always done on projects. I've always sat with people and got to know them, and sometimes I've got 30 or 50 people, not anymore, but in the old days we used to have a lot of people on projects, right? And still get to know those people, what motivates them. And for some people, it's got nothing to do with gaming. For me, I wouldn't care if I won or lose. So, I'm no good at chess. I can play it, but I don't care if I win, which just infuriates people, right? So, but my motivation is quite different. And some people's motivation is different, and I've talked about this before, Margaret, where recently I got some team members in an agile team to do a pitch. So they came out with a great concept, and the thing that they really thought was great, I just got them to put it into a 10-minute pitch, and they pitched it to the exec. And all of those things were, the three things that they pitched were all accepted on the spot by the exec, and they said go. And these were really new tools that what they were developing at the time. Fantastic ideas, far-reaching actually. But what was so good about that was it was in a very, not a competitive environment, but it was exciting. They were excited by that. And what drove these people was not winning. It was getting their idea in front of somebody that would listen and go, yes, go. And all they needed was They didn't need a reward on the leaderboard or anything. They just needed to be told, that is fantastic, you know. So it's really motivating the people for what motivates them. Yeah. Now, sorry, Andrea.
I think what you were really highlighting there is gamification is all about interactivity. It's about immediate feedback.
Yeah.
Rather than going away and writing a proposal and getting someone else to present it, like the project manager presents it, and then you get the feedback that your idea was accepted. It's very much immediate. The response is immediate.
Immediate, yeah, like just 10 minutes. It didn't take them long to put it down. 5 slides was all they had, and it was all done immediately, you know, and no trouble at all. So the gamification of project management, that's something, again, that we're going to talk about. So interactive dashboards, we've talked a little bit about that. And I suppose you can view even Confluence and use some of those tools that we've already got. There's a whole bunch of ordinary applications out there that we can use as a leaderboard if we really wanted to. But it's about appealing to how we show the progress in your organisation. And Andrea, you talked about Mira. What's it? Mira. Well, how do you say that?
It's is it Miro or Mira? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Miro. Yeah. It might be Miro.
Yeah, and there are a couple of those different corporate tools out there specifically for gaming and specifically for training. Seems to be that gamification in training is very popular, or is actually very beneficial. But we're trying to talk about it in project management and really challenge that. So again, if you're watching this now on the YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit like below, give us a thumbs up because we like doing these things. So timers and challenges, use this in meetings. So like there's a few little ideas about how we can do gamification. What's the playbook? Interactive dashboards, I just talked about. Timers and challenges. Specific tasks, and Margaret sort of talked about this before, issues management, or tasks that can be completed by each presenter. So you're in a meeting, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to talk about this. These are the outcomes. These are the sort of parameters, which are a bit like rules, I guess, game rules. And Margaret, we've talked about this before. I'd like you to do it in the style of a news presenter, you know, so using a bit of theatre. Susanne Moore here, and you know, and we've done X, Y, and Z, and we've done it, and it's finished, and it's fantastic. And back to you, Margaret. Done. You know, like we're not winning anything, but we sort of are, because people are stepping outside the norm of what they normally do in that environment. And sometimes people never get a chance to talk in some of these meetings. So leaderboards, my research says that can encourage stakeholders to interact via the leaderboard. So is this some sort of adjusted reporting that supersedes or is additional to our normal status reports, I'm wondering? What do you think, Margaret?
I suppose they can add comments, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they can add comments. Maybe they could add a comment or add stars or add, you know, some sort of emoji. Or something like that. Maybe that's what they mean by them interacting. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
So I was just thinking when you were talking about the timers and the leaderboards together, I know that when I participated in retrospectives in agile projects, I know that in past organisations we used to use Mural, which is a very interactive tool that shows, you know, what we did well, what we didn't do so well. It's all timed, so you have a couple of minutes to basically put your notes on sticky notes online and stick it on the board. And basically, a lot of the sticky notes may be the same kind of ideas and thoughts, so they're all collated together. And that's kind of a general idea that's presented to the group. And, you know, maybe the top three ideas that we didn't do so well, we need to improve on. The top 3 ideas that, you know, we did fantastic, we can continue on. they're the ideas that probably are actually continued. And I guess if we need to, for example, if one of the ideas was that people need a bit more training, so potentially that could be, you know, activities that are done over the next couple of weeks where someone presents training to the team so that they're aware of, I don't know, how to use the system or how to do things, or the process from the business, and understanding the business side a bit better. So it's actually ideas in terms of, you know, to the team, you know, and how it can be done better, or what we can continue on with for the future. So it's not really a game, but it is in terms of being creative and basically putting ideas and having them timed.
Yeah.
The fact that you're choosing, you know, some are being selected and some are not being selected, and there's a time basis and everybody's involved. Like, it's not just one person creating the ideas. But it does feel very much like a game.
It does.
Even though it's the same thing we used to do with a whiteboard.
That's right.
It was not as much of a game then. It's more because everybody can write at the same time. They were always waiting for the project manager to write on the sticky notes and put it up on the board and things, and it was pretty slow moving.
Yeah.
Whereas now lessons learned can be really fast.
It is, and it is, and when it's timed, everyone's, you know, writing on their sticky note, and so you're getting 10, 15 sticky notes all at once. So it's you're basically, you know, splashing the ideas on a board quickly, and I guess the ideas that have the most feedback, which are the same, it's pretty much a lot of people are thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So you could say that top idea, or that top, you know, thing that we need to learn from, wins the show or wins the game.
Wins the show, yeah. And even, like, I'm just sort of thinking outside the square now, having done lots of workshops or given lots of workshops. You know, if you had big stars, just cut out a cardboard, you know, stick them up on the whiteboard. Oh, you've won this one, or you've got 5 stars, or whatever it is. I suppose it's a different way of doing, like you were saying, Andrea, the same thing that we've done before, but it's faster, it's more dynamic, people are more involved. So it does work, I think. I haven't seen it in practice. Have you seen it in practice, Andrea?
Yes, particularly for lessons learned, which is the example that Margaret gave. That's exactly what I've seen it work for. And it was very quick, as opposed to being the laborious, like hour or 2 hour meeting of lessons learned. And then what do we think, which ones do we think we can put into practice? Which ones are going to have action items? Which ones are we just going to go, yep, okay, make a note of it? Yes, it was really fast, and much more, people owned it as well. They owned the actions.
Yeah.
They came up with the ideas.
Yeah, especially if those people that have experience or the knowledge, for example, if it's a lessons learned where people just don't know and they need to be trained, maybe the person that has the knowledge and the expertise steps up and does the presentation of the training in the future, you know, in the future coming days, so that for the next lessons learned and the next retrospective, people are then up to date with what they need to know.
You know, what I've heard too is it gives people in the team, and not certainly the project manager, but it gives people in the team more access to strategic thinking, or using strategy, you know, like it's game strategy, I guess you could call it. But, you know, how am I going to do this fast? How am I going to get this answer? What are we playing now? Like thinking more strategically, and also that analytics. You know, Margaret, we've talked about this before, the future of project managers. You know, we've got to shake off a lot of the thinking that we've done before. We've got to be more strategic. We've got to be more an advisor. We've got to think more analytically, but let AI do a lot of the hard yards. But we've also now got to come to grips with managing people like this, right? So that's a whole different ball game for many project managers. You know, they may not be up for it. They may not be equipped for it, you know. So It's a challenge. Now, look, I've just put this one, and I'm just going to say that this is courtesy of this organisation below that I've put in the reference. I've changed some of the steps slightly, but 9 steps to start gamification in your project specifically, okay? And we generally do track progress and monitor and adjust for continuous improvement. Absolutely, we do all of those things. But these are some other things that they suggest that we can do to introduce gamification. So obviously, define clear objectives and what the goals are going to be in terms of why am I introducing gamification to this project. And I would suggest that we have to be very clear with our stakeholders, certainly our executive stakeholders, to make sure that they're not thinking, oh, we're just playing games down here. No, why are we doing it? Understand your team. We talked about that. What motivates your team? You know, it's different for different teams. It really is, in my experience. Choose the right platform. So don't just go out in there and get anything. Choose the right one so that gamification objectives integrate seamlessly with your project management tools. So we don't want 2 different reporting systems here. We want an integrated one. Develop point systems and milestones. Team members earn points for completing tasks, meeting deadlines, achieving milestones. Margaret, you were talking about that. Andrea, you were talking about that as well. Implement leaderboards. We've talked about that. Badges, levels. And again, for people watching, this presentation will be on the website. You can access it after this session, and the link will be in the description below, so you'll be able to access that. Offer meaningful rewards. This really gets me because so often when I was younger, you know, they'd say, oh, we're going to go down the pub for a drink afterwards. No, I don't want to do that. That's not a reward for me. That's a nightmare for me. No. So meaningful rewards, right? I used to give people, and this is way before gamification. This is way back in 1996, right? I used to give people Freddo frogs. I just leave a little Freddo frog on their keyboard when they'd done something fantastic. We've just had somebody join us, Khaled. If you can hear us, hello? It might take you a little. Hello. How are you?
Everything is okay. And sorry for closing the cam.
Oh, no, that's okay. So you've come in a little bit late. We've sort of started, but that's fine. I'm very happy to have you here. You should be able to see on the screen myself, Susanne Moore, from the PM Clinic, Margaret de Santos, Andrea Bright, who's also joined us. And we've just sharing something on the screen, so I'll come back to you in a second, Khaled, after we've gone through this, and maybe you can introduce yourself. So yes, we're up to number 6, offer meaningful rewards, okay? Not what you like, meaningful ones. Encourage collaboration and real-time feedback. We talked about that with the issues the lessons learned and the concept and the pitching that I talked about. Real-time. You know, don't wait. Don't have it go up through the hierarchy. Real-time. Foster a positive competitive spirit. We don't want to pit people against each other. Maintain transparency and gather feedback. And that we should be doing anyway. We always should be doing that. Celebrate achievements and keep it fun. Publish achievements in company meetings, social media, newsletters and status reports. Can you think of anything else, Margaret?
I think the kickoff just before you actually start would be one where you would basically engage some sort of collaborative team game or spirit or something like that. I think that would be another thing.
Set the scene. Yeah. Set the scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they
set
still
the
have?
Scene.
I've got to say, do they still have kickoff meetings? Because I've often been to projects now and there's no kickoff meeting, and I think, oh, what's happening? What do you think, Andrea? You having kickoff meetings?
We definitely did, yeah.
Yeah.
At Ramsey, my last job. I mean,
Oh,
yeah, I'm just
good.
trying to think back, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, yeah, when the program or the project is starting, people will introduce themselves. I
Yeah.
know when I worked at World Vision, it was a very dispersed team across the globe, so we would always meet before the project program kicked off
Yeah.
somewhere in the world. And I know that, for example, I was in an EPMO team. All the project managers would meet once a year,
Yeah.
somewhere co-located in the world. Again, we would share lessons learned, any post-implementation reviews on projects, and we would, any tips and tricks that other project managers have learnt, we would share those as well. So
Yeah.
it was very a camaraderie type thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, we would basically share a meal together, have dinner together or whatever. And yeah, so it's not really a game, but we
No, it's
would,
not really a game. I mean,
but
we've already got too many games in the workplace, in my experience. So these ones are different sorts of games. Carla, just before I move on to the next part of the discussion, would you like to introduce yourself? Have you got experience with gamification in project management? If you want to just stay silent, just give me a thumbs up, and we'll just let you listen. But if you'd like an opportunity to talk, just let us know. Okay?
Thank you, Suzanne, and sorry for being late because the time at my country is very early morning. However, that is why I joined late. However, the topic is very interesting for me.
Oh,
I'm
good.
a pharmacist and at the same time as a Scrum Master
Oh, good.
and Agile coach. So I was always thinking how to engage people with the gamification
Yeah.
and how we can incorporate the AI throughout the journey of project management. And it was open question for me how I can mix both to make a wonderful, engaging project management journey throughout the teams.
Yeah.
So that is why here I'm to learn
Oh,
from
perfect.
you about the tools which could be used accordingly.
Oh, perfect. So this, Caleb, will be, it is being recorded, so it will be on the YouTube channel in a couple of days when I've edited it. And there is the presentation that goes with it, and the details will be there. If you go to the channel, you'll find that there's lots of other videos with lots of information, just like you've talked, AI and various other things in project management. So, how can we use gamification in the project environment? So, Margaret, you've given us a couple of examples of your experience,
mm,
and we've talked about the kickoff. What else is there? How else can we implement this? Because for most project managers, I mean, they'll probably be staring at us like, "What is wrong with you people? Not another thing
Do
that I
you
have to do."
do you call actually playing games gamification? I mean, like, is it Kazoo where you do the word games, and also quizzes,
Yeah,
which I know that
true.
our friend Trevor Churchley is very fond of.
Yes, it
That's a
is.
way of engaging people,
True.
yeah.
and everybody gets a little bit involved, even though they've been listening most of the time. So those are things that we've been doing for a long time, I think,
Yeah,
and they're pretty
exactly.
simple, but great.
Yeah, look, I think they are because it's not gaming the system. We talked about that earlier, but it's using gaming mechanisms and fundamental concepts in our workplace. Caleb, you've got your hand up?
Yes, I would like to be thinking loudly with you, especially. I tested on a small scale pilot with my daughter using a Google AI Studio to make a small game, which had been it's done. I put a prompt for Google AI Studio from the PDF of her curriculum, and
Yeah,
asked the Google AI Studio is to make a game, and the winning or the gift will be like a coins. So it was amazing. So it seems from this pilot that it could be giving a prompt for Google AI Studio, and the outcome will be a complete game page from within 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
I don't know if this in scope of your discussion.
Wow. So you did this from a PDF
Yeah, PDFs
using
of the
AI.
curriculum. Yes, okay.
Wow.
The Google AI Studio, it had like ChatGPT, it have a prompt space and have a uploading document.
Right.
It's for free completely. What I did, I get the curriculum for math
Yeah.
and the boot as a PDF, and then accordingly, I started to ask it to make a game. So I don't know if you are using a special software or you are talking about software or
Yeah.
this could be a solution. Let me
Yeah.
elaborate more. Yes.
Yeah. Look, there are corporate gamification software systems out there. I didn't put them in the presentation, but you just need to Google them. Um, but you said you can elaborate?
But yes, I'm asking that you have certain software, or so you
Uh-huh.
told me you have certain software for gamification, which
Uh,
is in
there
hand.
are there are corporate ones, and I'll put some of those in the description of
Okay.
the video when we're finished. But how good they are and how big they are, and Andrea and I were talking about Mirror before, so that's one
Mm,
that's used. But it's as easy when you go back and look at this video, as easy as using sticky notes. There's
mm,
also so I use Wix, Wix for my website, and I've got some programs in there, training programs, and
mm,
in there, they also, as you go through that program, it will offer you rewards,
mm.
badges, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and acknowledgements, and so
Mm,
that's just in Wix. It's in the business Wix, but it's everywhere. Is basically what I'm
mm,
saying. It's not just in project management; it's everywhere.
mm,
So, in agile projects, it's probably been more my experience to see like this um, gamification, gaming type style of things, people racing to fill up their sprints and things like that, and often it's a interesting environment. Using vision boards, I'm not sure how that works so much. Andrea, have you had experience with any of this sort of thing?
No, not in terms of gamification. I haven't got any experience with that. But
Mm-hmm.
I did think when I was listening to Colette, that definitely it would make it a lot quicker to do the presentations. Because if you've ever been in a joint presentation where you actually had 10 people present during a
Yeah,
lunchtime or something like that, it'd be excellent for summarizing at the end, because those you typically have a game at the end where you have a quiz and it says, you know, what's the name of the project that Susanne started last week,
yeah,
and it would be really quick. That's what Khaled was basically. I could
yeah.
imagine from what Khaled said. All you would have to do is upload the presentations, get it to ask you 5 questions, and then you'd have an automatic quiz. You wouldn't have to
Yeah,
go and listen to all the presentations before it started, so that you could create a quiz at the end.
yeah, exactly. And then you've got your sort of weighted answers as well,
Mm,
as to where you're going to go. But again, this leads us back to, as project managers, we've got to develop different skills to what we've
mm.
had before. And I think this is your slide, Margaret, using vision boards to collaborate. And you sort of talked a little bit about that earlier. But in terms of the retrospective, so we're sort of touching on that agile thing now, and you've had experience with that. Can you expand that a little bit?
So I did mention that as well, which
Yeah,
was we used Mural as the software to be able to, get everyone to write their sticky notes in terms of what went well and then what we could do better, some new ideas and some things that we could throw out that, they weren't that great. And other things as well is when I have had this as well, where someone sends out a happiness score and you decide, how happy are you today? So out of 5 stars, you might pick 4 or you might pick 1.
yeah,
And so it's not really a game, but it's actually a survey for each person in the team to basically give an indication of how happy they are. I find that with that though, I think personal and work might be kind of mixed, where you might have been having a bad day at home and then you come to work and you're not happy not because the actual work that you're doing is not that great, but because you've had a terrible experience, in the morning or the night before, and so it sort of tarnishes your happiness score. But that's another way, I guess, you can bring in some creativity into your projects as well.
Yeah, and even if these things are timed, well, I'd like to know your happiness score, but I'm only going to give you 10 minutes. I don't know, but maybe not the right example, but you know what I mean? I think what you're saying is you can still do surveys, you can still gamify them. It's up to us to think about how we can do that. Khaled, you've got your hand up?
Yes, because the idea which had been reflected by Margaret is amazing. I did another pilot using super intelligent AI tool throughout the retrospective, which is GenSpark AI, which is application in your mobile. GenSpark, which is available on Apple Watch and available on the application. So what I did is it could make generating for super structured insights out of your retrospective meeting. So the outcome will be a structured note if fully you are aligned with the team that you are recording. So if you agree and consented in that you are recording throughout the retro, the outcome will be a super intelligent report. Then you can take this report and feed the ChatGPT and ask for sentiment, the positive, negative, and neutral insights which I had put on the table throughout the retro. Then you can take the negative insights and define root cause analysis for the people who are why they are throughout the journey are negative. Then you can design a game for them to make them engage. So it's like a closed loop psychological way of engaging the team in a way based on the insights. So it's simple GenSpark plus ChatGPT using a sentimenting technique. So this is the insight come from Margaret insights which had been just shared.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Khaled. That's really interesting. I have heard of those because I use all Apple products, so they are familiar to me. I'll try and remember to put them in the references section of the video description. But thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Susanne.
So again, if you're watching, remember to subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up below. We're going to start wrapping up because we've been going for probably 40, 45, 50 minutes already. And I want to sort of ask a couple of questions before we finish. We've sort of mentioned about project managers needing to upgrade their skills or change their skills, which we've been having this discussion before. But thinking about the gamification, and I was only in work like a year ago, what about change managers? Like, are they on top of this? Because I've not heard too much about gamification. Maybe from younger generation, maybe, I don't know. Anyone got any comments about change management?
I don't know whether change managers actually use gamification, but again, I mean, I would use that in terms of a kickoff workshop and breaking the silos or breaking, getting people to relax a bit at the kickoff or at the beginning of any workshop or any, just so that people are a bit more relaxed. They're going to be a bit more open about coming forward. And that's, yeah, I know that a lot of change management have change agents working in the different groups within the organisation. And so their idea is to get to know the person so that they can get what they're thinking or how they're feeling for, basically to embrace the change, or if, there's going to be a big change going to happen in the organisation. So, but I don't know whether they actually use games to, or gamification to roll out the change management perspective.
No, I'm not sure either, but I think it might be another session that we can have, because we've talked primarily around the project and the project team and the project manager. We haven't talked a lot about engaging stakeholders using gamification. And Margaret, when we've done the RACI, we've talked lots about a RACI. We love the RACI. You can make a RACI really exciting as well with your stakeholders. They can get really excited about it if you do it in the right way. And again, it's about setting up the expectation of what you're going to do. Andrea, I can see that sparked a little bit of interest in you. But yes, the RACI is such a powerful tool, and stakeholders love to be involved in developing a RACI. But instead of having something that is so boring that everyone almost goes to sleep in a meeting, I've got a process to do a simple RACI, which people love, and they just love to be involved in it. And I think it's because of the simplicity. So I think we'll probably have to continue this discussion in another session about how we can really drill down on some of these project management tools that we have and really slant them and shift them sideways about how can we use them differently. I talked about a concept brief and doing a pitch. That's different. How many projects have you ever been in where somebody's saying, well, come on, let's go and do a pitch to the CEO?
Yeah.
Nowhere that I know, but I've done it. So it's putting a spin on things, putting a spin on how we do status reporting, which can be the most boring thing, on the planet, but you can make it interesting. So let's bring a bit more, as you said, Margaret, creativity and interest back into project management. So I'm just going to go back to that first slide quickly, and just let me just get that. Just to sort of see if we've answered some of these things. Unlocking engagement. Well, we certainly have from a team perspective, and we've touched, like I said, on the project manager. Traditional project management struggles with team buy-in. So hopefully we've given people a little bit of an idea and a few tips about how we can improve that. Why current methods fall short in today's dynamic work environment. We might need to flesh that out a little bit more in another session. And get ready to see how this simple shift can transform your project's energy. Well, hopefully we've been able to do that in today's session and give people a bit of thinking ideas of maybe I could do that. And again, if you need help doing that, or if you want some advice on doing that, reach out. My details will be, again, in the description below. Go to the website, www.pmclinic.com.au. For more details, I am in contact with fantastically expert people like Margaret de Santos and Andrea and Khaled. I don't know anything about you, so I can't say, but I'm sure by the sounds you're incredibly experienced. So if you're out there and you're watching and you think you're floundering, give us an email or contact us through the website. Now I'm just going to whiz around really quickly. Andrea, have you got anything that you'd like to add to finish up?
No, thank you. I really enjoyed the presentation or the workshop.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. And look, I'm so glad that you joined us and you were able to give us so many fantastic ideas and really participate. So thank you so much for persevering and coming into the session. Khaled, have you got anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you for this wonderful minutes, and it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, hopefully we'll keep in touch, Khaled, and we'll be able to talk again. You might want to do a webinar yourself with us next time. Margaret, we're just wrapping up. What have you got? Anything else to wrap up with?
No, not from my perspective. I think we've covered everything, and everything that I wanted to say is actually in the slide pack. I've included that in there, so nothing else.
Perfect. So thank you, everyone. Thanks so much for attending. It's been absolutely fantastic. There'll be more on gamification. So this next time it'll be stakeholders. We'll be coming again for you to talk a little bit about how we might be able to better engage. And have a fantastic project day. Bye for now, everyone.